Good afternoon. This is the Lehigh County Board of the Director meeting. Today is November 11, 2024. The meeting is being held in hybrid fashion, either in person or via Zoom meeting. Before we start the meeting, today is November 11th, the Veteran Day. So I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the Board of Directors. Thanks all the veterans, especially those veterans that part of the Lehigh County Authority family. Thank for their services, and God bless them all.
You're welcome.
Oh, you are a veteran, so I didn't know that. Thank you. Thanks for your services. Lisa, can I roll call for the Board of Directors, please?
Absolutely. Roll call of the board. Brian Noggle.
Here.
Mayor Famili.
Here.
Ted Lyons.
Here.
Jeff Morgan.
Here.
Norma Cusick.
Here.
Kevin Baker. Linda Rosenfeld. Sean Ziller.
Here.
Mark Gramis.
Here.
We have 7 board members present, so we do have a quorum.
Okay, great. Thank you. The package for today's meeting was sent in advance via mail or email. Is on the website. Hopefully everybody have received it. Going to the agenda, Lisa, any changes, any need for any executive sessions?
Thank you. Today, there's no executive sessions planned. No major changes to the agenda. We just request a slight reordering of some of the agenda items because we do have some guests on the call today. We'd like to do Resolution 11-2024-2 first, and then the 2023 audit and financial statements second, and then follow through the rest of the agenda.
Great.
That's acceptable.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's go to the approval of the last meeting. Jeff, could you please read that?
Yep, so no comments on the minutes from the last meeting, so I'll make a motion that we approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Jeff, and second by Ted. All in favor, say aye.
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 Passed. Any public comment on the item which is not on the agenda?
No, thanks, Samir.
Yep, no thanks.
Thank you, Brian. So let's start the meeting. We're going to start. The first item is a resolution 11-2024-2, a revised borrowing resolution from Penvest for the lead service line. It is on the white papers, page 117 to 121.
Thank you. And to help us talk about this one, we do have Tim Horstman from McNeese, Wallace and Nurick on the call, as well as our solicitor, Kevin Baker. And just to give you the background, this relates to Penvest closing that we expect to have later this week for the Cycle 1 lead service line replacement program, which is primarily grant or principal forgiveness loan, and then a small portion of actual loan.
Sure.
So I think we'll let Tim sort of explain what we're doing here with this resolution and why we need to do this one, and anything else you want to share. Tim, we cannot hear you. While Tim is in settings, Kevin Baker has joined the call. Kevin, can you hear us?
Yep, can hear you perfectly.
Thank you. We cannot hear you, Tim. We see your lips moving. We could probably have Kevin get started reviewing the changes on this one. I think this one's fairly straightforward.
Yes, and I might need.
How about
to-
now?
Oh, very quick.
Okay. I had a call in from my phone. My apologies. This is the second Zoom call I've been on today, and the first one worked perfectly, so I'm not sure what's going on. Apologies about that. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tim Horstman. I'm an attorney with McNeese, Wallace & Nurick. I'm your bond counsel in connection with all the various financings that the authority has done under the concession agreement with the city of Allentown. This resolution, you may be looking at this and having a sense of deja vu, and that is because this board did adopt a resolution previously. As we started to move towards closing on this matter, Penvest requested a very minor modification to the resolution. The sole modification being to change the references to from grant to principal forgiveness loan. It's just simply a term of art, and it's being driven by certain requirements coming from the EPA. EPA wants us to refer to these types of grants as principal forgiveness loans. In our view, it's still a grant, of course, but at Penvest request, we've made that change to the resolution. So in all other respects, the resolution remains identical to the one that was previously adopted by the board. Did your solicitor want to add anything to that, Kevin?
No, Tim, I think that's an accurate description of the change.
Lisa, would you like me to go into where we are with the status of financing, or do you want to go run the resolution first?
Just a high level look at where we are with it is fine. Yep.
Sure. So where we are with this, we're supposed to be closing on this transaction later this week. We do have one potential snag that has arisen in this matter in the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to try and keep this very high level, keep the sausage making to a minimum for the benefit of the board. The structuring of this loan was negotiated over the greater part of a year. We had numerous negotiations with Penvest back in the summer of 2023 to work through the proper structure to address a number of issues that had arisen going back to 2021 when the authority first approached Penvest about doing a loan in connection with the concession system. Those negotiations in 2023 produced the current security structure where this loan is going to be incurred outside of the indenture, but will be treated as subordinate debt. The loan will then be further secured through a standalone security fund, a debt service reserve fund, essentially, that Penvest could then tap if the authority failed to complete the project in accordance with the terms and conditions of the funding offer. That structure was put in place again in 2023, was agreed to by the parties. Just in the last couple of weeks, Penvest raised for the first time some additional concerns about that structure, despite the prior assurances. So we've been working through those additional concerns that Penvest has raised. To date, we do not have a final response from Penvest as to whether this transaction will be able to move forward as planned to close this week. In the event it is unable to close, the authority will switch gears and do a structure similar to the way that it's closed on the prior Penvest financing, where the authority would use cash on hand to complete the $1.5 million loan, essentially. And then once the project was completed, we would then move to close on the Penvest loan and essentially reimburse the authority for that outlay of funds additionally. So that's a long way of saying I unfortunately can't tell you today if we're going to close. We are, of course, hopeful that we will close this week, but we are still waiting on a final response from Penvest. In the meantime, we are recommending you adopt this resolution to at least make the necessary changes that Penvest has requested to the resolution.
Tim. So essentially, the snapshot is we need this resolution for closing this week. And we're still hopeful that that will happen. If the closing doesn't happen this week, we do have a plan B for this project, which is to pre-fund work and be reimbursed after the fact. Just a few things up in the air that we're trying to resolve. But we'd like to do everything we can to make sure we can close if we're able to do that this week, which is scheduled for Thursday.
Lisa, what's the problem?
The problem in simple terms is that the trust indenture that we have for the lease and the $300+ million bonds that we have for the lease has some fairly strict language in it regarding how other debt or other loan structures might interact with those bonds. And so where Penvest is looking for some assurance that they can, or their money's not at risk, that they can get their money back if we fail to perform on the job, the trust indenture for the lease doesn't allow that to happen in a way that is
Has this affected other borrowings we've done?
It has, yes. So what Tim was mentioning, the prior project, we did the high lift pumps at the water filtration plant. That was kind of our test case project with Penvest. And we took the approach for that one. That was what, under 2 million? It's like 1.4 million. We pre-funded that project so that at the end of the project, Penvest could feel assured that we performed properly. They allowed us to close and reimburse ourselves.
Is this unique to Penvest?
I can't answer that definitively. I'm sure that there are other loan programs that would take a different position.
Yeah, the only thing I wouldn't call it specifically unique to Penvest. They have a concerted interest to make sure that we do execute the project and don't renege on that promise to do so. It's different because of our arrangement in the concession agreement and the parity levels with respect to liens. That makes it a little bit outside the realm of what they're used to seeing. And so we thought we had some agreement, and then basically they got concerned about what was originally agreed to and started a backpedal.
So when we do bank loans or bond issues, it doesn't affect this?
No, because when we do a refinancing, for instance, on the city, that's basically putting everybody, new bondholders at the same level.
And part of the issue with this project, and any Penvest project really, is that it's project specific. And for this project in particular, it's actually federal pass-through money through the infrastructure, the bipartisan infrastructure law. And so it's actually federal money that's coming to us, and there's other requirements like Build America, Buy America, and other things that we have to do, and Penvest needs to be assured that we follow those things. Whereas a regular bond issue, you're just borrowing a chunk of money and doing whatever projects you can with it. So it is a little bit different.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other question from the board member?
This is Brian. Sorry, Mayor. I noticed, sorry, the last sentence of the resolution talks about rescinding the other inconsistent resolution. So I'm assuming that means specifically the prior resolution to be passed, so we don't have two of the same resolutions, a little minor change.
That's correct. So you're saying section 8 that says all resolutions or parts of resolutions inconsistent with this one are rescinded, and that's exactly for the reason that you said, Brian.
Okay, just wanted to verify that. Thank you.
Any other question from the board member? Ask you please to present that.
Sure. So this is resolution 11-2024-2. It's authorizing and securing a loan from Penvest in the principal amount of $1,555,508, and also the acceptance of a principal forgiveness loan from Penvest in a maximum amount of $3,383,892 for the purposes of the lead line program. and authorizing officials to sign appropriate documents.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. So we have the resolution 11/2024-2 in front of us, and we have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Norma.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sean. So Norma and Sean, thank you. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passed. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate your presence.
Thank you, everyone.
Good. Moving to next one, which is a 2023 audit and financial statement. It is for approval on the white paper, pages 33 to 116.
And who brings this one?
Yes, we actually made the June 30th deadline for the submittal of the annual comprehensive financial report, which included the commentary and opinion on the financial statements. Unfortunately, that kind of slipped through the cracks with the budget out there and everything else. So what we're doing today is presenting statements at a very high level, so that the board can say that they are aware of the statements and accept them. And to do that, I have Nate Swartz, who is the audit manager for our entire audit, with us from Zelenkoski Axelrod. And he wants to start off by just talking about some high-level issues or statements about the audit itself.
Okay, hopefully you guys can all hear me.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. First off, I'd like to start by thanking Ed and his team for helping again make another smooth audit year. Ed went into the fact for the ACFR that we hit the June 30th deadline. We also were able to hit the April 30th deadline for, I believe, some of your bond indentures. So we got everything we needed from PMRS. Your team, your management team got us all the information. We were able to get through it and issue that on time. So that's obviously great that we hit that deadline. No issues with PMRS this year. We got the information in a timely fashion. There's some required communications that I do want to go over with the board quickly. The first one is we issued a clean or unmodified opinion on your financial statements. That's the highest level of assurance that we can give on the financial statements. We did not find any control issues that required communications to the board. So there were no internal control issues that required me to communicate to you. No material weaknesses, no material audit adjustments that we are required to communicate to the board. We completed our audit consistent with the planned scope and timing that we outlined in the engagement letter, for the first year and for a while, again, because PMRS got us the information. We complied with all legal and ethical requirements regarding independence during the engagement. We encountered no significant or unusual transactions that required communication to the board. We had no disagreements with management that required communications to the board. We noted no instances where management went for outside consultation with another audit firm regarding any issues during the audit. So that's the stuff I was required to communicate. One of the things, if you guys, again, just wanted to keep it super high level, you've already had the statements to look at them. If you will note, you did change from a pension asset this year to a pension liability, significant change. However, I just wanted the board to remember the way that that's done is it's not measured as of December 31st, 2023. You're actually a year behind in the measurement. So that would have been reflective of the 2022 year market. I would expect that hopefully goes to an asset as of 2023. I'm not sure until we get the reports, but so just remember that if you're looking at that, it's based off 2022's market, not the 2023 market. It's a year behind. Also wanted to comment and kind of give you guys a pat on the back. You're one of the few entities within Pennsylvania, at least that I audit, that actually set up a trust for your OPEB on the suburban side of it, so the non-union. That trust is doing well. You still have a OPEB asset on that side of it. I think it was around $1.7 million, which means the assets that you have set aside are effectively greater than what they calculate the liability to be at this time. So that, again, good forward thinking thing. Not a lot of people have done that. So just to compliment you on that side of it. And that's about all I had, unless you guys have questions.
Yeah, I have a question. If you mentioned that the liability might exceed the assets in the pension.
Mm-hmm.
That strictly means that the unfunded liability exceeds the current assets. We can get that back in line with contributions and market increase.
Yeah, and to be quite honest with you, remember 2022, I think, was a pretty bad year for the market. That's why I wanted to point that out. I believe it recovered in 2023, so now we're all in 2024. But yeah, it's the way PMRS does that, so they can get the reports, supposed to be so they can get the reports out timely. They actually, GASB allows you to measure that a year behind. But yeah, I would expect with the market improvements in 2023 that may come back. So again, you were still well funded within that. PMRS does not allow you basically not to be well funded through the contribution requirements. So yes, to answer your question, yes, you'll probably get that back.
Thank you.
Anything else you have to add, Ed?
No, I mean, he actually was a good audit, came clean.
Congratulations, Ed. That was a good report.
Yeah.
Cash flows were good. That's how we judged the business. So pretty happy with 2023.
Any question from the board members?
Hearing none. So we have 2023 audit and financial statement in front of us for approval. And I have somebody make the motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Jeff, thank you. Ted, thank you. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Ed, kudos to the team
Thank you.
for another great year in the audit. So I appreciate all the team are doing.
So you do well, and there's a lot of things to do, and we actually they work very hard and well on that. So thank you, Nate.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Now we go to the top of the line, I suppose. Okay, we have in front of us a 2025 water and wastewater rate schedule. This is for approval. It's yellow pages, digital pages, page 8 to 29.
Right. Thank you, Amir. So I decided not to belabor the issue with yet another presentation because we looked at these rates in quite a bit of detail through the budget process. So what you have in front of you on the yellow sheets is a memo with a summary of the changes and then the actual rate schedules to show specifically what is changing on the rates. A couple things I wanted to highlight for you that we did not talk about during the budget process. First of all, in the water rates, this is a kind of a small one, but we are recommending a change in our fire flow testing fee. That fee had not been reviewed or updated for over a decade, almost 15 years. And it's intended to reflect our actual cost for going out and doing a fire flow test for a customer on their request. So if their insurance requires it or a developer's looking for that information, we go out and do it for them and then charge them the actual cost. So there's a change, pretty significant change in that fee for that one. Also, There are some changes on the wastewater rate schedule relating to our analysis costs for fats, oils, and grease and our industrial pretreatment program. And those are simply just reflecting the change in the lab fees and that we recover through that program. But we didn't cover those during the budget process, so I wanted to highlight those in particular. Everything else that you see in the memo is exactly as we presented during the budget. The suburban water rates for the average customer going up between 6 to 7.5%, depending on usage. And for Allentown water and Allentown sewer, average rate increase of about 5.5%. And all the details are included in the packet. So I think we've talked about rates a number of times already, kind of leave it there. I will say that this information has been posted for about a month already on our website, and we'll keep it available for public comment through January 1. And share with you if we receive any public comments. To date, we have not received any.
Thank you, Lisa. Any question from the board member? So we have for approval our 2025 water and wastewater rate schedule. Can I have somebody to make the motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Norma.
Second by Sean.
Thank you, Sean. All in favor, say aye.
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 No. It passed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next one, we have our schedule for the board meeting for 2025, which is in the pink paper digital package, page 30.
All right, this is, I hope, is an easy one. Lisa does a great job putting this together, so we have a full schedule. We do this in advance so that we can meet the advertising requirements and get it published. Our meetings are on the second and fourth Mondays of each month, and I just wanted to highlight the two exceptions. May, we put the meetings for May 12th and May 19th because Monday of the month conflicts with Memorial Day. And then for December, we just do the one meeting. So we're not conflicting with the holidays. We do ask the board to approve the schedule so that we can get it published.
So we have to go through the approval, is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have our 2025 board meeting schedule in front of us. Can we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you,
Amir,
Norma.
I'll second that, Amir. Mark.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. So all in favor, say aye.
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 We oppose. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Moving to the next agenda item is is a resolution 11-2024-1 authorizing the authority application for grant funding the water meter replacement project. It is in the green papers and the digital package, page 31 to 32.
All right, this is, I hope, a fairly straightforward request. We are planning to submit a grant application to the local share account grant program that's run through the Department of Community and Economic Development program. And we've selected a project for this grant application related to our water meter replacement program. And there's a couple of reasons why we selected that project. First of all, the grant program allows for the request to be focused on equipment purchase. So we have an unending need for replacement meters, and we'll be able to just buy the meters through this program somewhat in bulk and serve the need of the program. Fairly straightforward, simple way to do it. The other thing that we are always concerned about with these grant applications is that the timing of when the grants are awarded impacts when we can start the project. So we can't really use these grant programs for projects that are very time sensitive. Because we have to wait until the project is awarded or the grant is awarded before we can actually move forward on the project. So we're looking for something that met kind of those criteria in terms of simple equipment purchase and a project that we could be flexible on the timing and not necessarily very much focused on a regulatory requirement or an asset management critical need type of project. So we have the maximum allowable grant application is for $1 million. We clearly have $1 million worth of meter replacements planned over the next couple of years. So that's the scope of what we're asking for. And this application has to go in this month. So this is our opportunity to do it. And Kevin, I don't know if you want to say anything about the resolution itself and what it allows for.
No, I think the resolution, I'm happy to answer any questions. I think the resolution is pretty straightforward. I think the request that you're making for is pretty straightforward as well. It's basically authorizing the request of the grant and authorizing certain LCA officials to sign whatever necessary documents associated with that grant may be.
Any question from the board member?
I just have not necessarily a question about the application, but Lisa, was there any consideration? I know this is an LSA statewide, but I'm intimately familiar that there is also the county LSAs. Any consideration to applying for those?
As a municipal authority, we are only eligible for the statewide program.
Easy enough, thanks.
Good question.
Just a quick question. How are the meters going to be installed, or does this include installation?
It does not. It's only for the equipment purchase, which is really what gives us the most flexibility. So we can purchase them and install them right away or use them over a little bit of time outside the scope of the grant itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other question from the board member? Kevin, would you please spread that to the board for approval?
This is resolution number 11-2024-1. It's authorizing submission of a Pennsylvania statewide local share assessment grant request, designating Lehigh County authority officials authorized to execute all necessary documents and agreements in connection with the grant.
Thank you, Kevin.
So moved.
Thank you, Norma.
And a second from Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Vote? Pardon me? Vote? Yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, resolution passed. Thank you. Moving to, there's no more in finance and administration, is that correct?
Correct.
So we're moving to the water. We have the Suburban Division Water Main Replacement Program Cycle 7. These are in the blue pages. And digital package pages 122 to 124.
We'll have Chuck introduce this one.
Thanks, Lizzo. Jason's going to provide additional details for this change order. I'll introduce this topic. This project was awarded about a year ago by the board to replace about 1.2 miles of developer installed plastic water main and plastic services. This system was experiencing a high degree of water loss up in North Whitehall Township in the Schnecksville area. So we performed the project. Contractor ran into a lot of unforeseen conditions. Inaccurate historical information from the developer, valves that were not there, lines that were located in different places. Our folks had a hard time locating these lines because they're plastic. So this basically resulted in a two-component change order. There's one component of this change order in the second paragraph under the narrative that has a value of $45,000, $45,220. And that component basically required the contractor to perform numerous mobilizations, adjust his sequencing of work, install additional valves, prolonged the duration of the contract in order to not shut some critical facilities down, such as a school and a daycare, and resulted in some additional costs. The second component of the change order was reflected additional unit costs, additional quantities of bid items that were installed because the contractor could not install the services via trenchless. The contractor or the contract was bid based on trenchless excavation for the services. Subsurface conditions prevented the installation via trenchless, and the contractor incurred a lot of additional restoration costs, pavement and yard restoration, and that's where the $127,000 figure came from. Well, it was 45,000 plus 127, and that's
Yes.
so the total change order amount is $172,693. We realize it's a good amount of money. It's a big amount of money. It's just under 10% of the contract value. It is additional work. A lot of this work would have been performed had we bid the services open cut. We would have had to pay for these costs anyway, but there was unforeseen costs that required a lot of construction phase interruptions and changes that drove the $45,000 figure. So Jason can provide additional detail. If you guys have any questions, please direct them to Jason.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I have a quick question. How old is the project? How old was the original system put in?
I think it was 70s. Well, like
that long?
Yeah. Yeah, and it was, hopefully this helps our water loss situation up in North Whitehall, because we've been chipping away at it with these annual projects, and we're making a lot of progress replacing all the plastic developer installed piping.
What we found up there, Ted, was a lot of the mainline infrastructure was actually Schedule 80 PVC pipe. There was a mixed bag of different materials.
This was inspected by somebody, right?
Inspected the new install? Absolutely.
But the old system, who knows on the old system?
Yeah, the old system, yeah. Yeah. Good question.
Just to be clear, we acquired the system.
I know that, yeah.
In the late 1990s, so
Yeah.
it was, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any liability tagged to the contractor on these types of things that has a 10-year warranty or I don't know?
We have a standard 18-month warranty
18,
for materials workmanship. Yeah, but that's attached to the performance bond.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other board member questions? Is there a standard for this water line nowadays? Can they use polyethylene or, I mean, what is the spec which is acceptable today?
We have our own standard spec. I'll let Jason elaborate.
What we standardly install and spec is ductile iron water main class 52 pipe and copper services, copper K series copper for all public services. We do allow some areas of plastic where there's cathodic protection from other utility companies that would impact our ductile iron. And in those cases, we use C900 pipe, plastic pipe.
But plastic would become brittle over time because they're all, correct, is.
Some plastics and depending on the type, yes, you'll have a lot of the heavy duty polyethylene that's out there today has good shelf life.
Sure.
Very strong. Problematic is locating for utility markouts. But the other problematic side is leak detection. Very hard to leak detect. Ductile iron, you can have a better chance of finding those problems when they occur.
Thank you, Jason and Chuck. So we have a resolution in front of us for the Suburban Division Water Main Replacement Program, Cycle 7. Can we have a motion?
So as a person who has dealt with many change orders due to poor as-built drawings, I will make a motion.
And as a person who's also dealt with poor as-built drawings, I will second that motion if anybody already hasn't.
The motion by Jeff with a lot of pain and approval, second by Mark. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, Pat. Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. Moving on. The project, monthly project update or?
Yes. Yeah, there's no items under wastewater this month. And we have some good news. We have a holiday coming up, and the Monday before Thanksgiving is intended to be our next board meeting. However, the only items that we have on the agenda are the monthly reports for finance and operations. So we will be recommending canceling that meeting and just sending you those reports. And we gave you a preview of what could be on the agenda for the December 9th meeting, which is our last meeting of the year. We'll be finalizing that agenda in the next couple of weeks. So more to follow on that. If there's any questions on any of the outstanding projects, happy to try to answer them now. And that's all I have.
Sure. Any question from the board? You're not? Staff comments.
Nothing
None?
additional.
Thank you. So this is a comment.
No comments, thank you.
Thank you. Public comment.
No, thank you, Amir.
Yeah, no, thank
you.
Any board member comment?
Yeah, I have a question. My neighbor called me the other day and said that he received a letter from the LCA regarding that he has galvanized pipe, water pipe coming into his house, and that it has to be tested. The water quality has to be tested to see if he needs to replace the pipe. Is that correct?
Sort of, yes. We sent out letters per the lead and copper rule revisions to close to 40,000 customers. Some of them with lead service lines, some of them with galvanized lines, and a whole lot of them with service lines that we don't know what the material is. So as part of that notification, that's required notification by EPA rule, we are also offering water testing. It's not a requirement that they do the water testing, but we're offering a free water test so people can find out if they have lead in their drinking water. And so I think that's what
Well, how would this affect a galvanized line?
So galvanized, well, actually, why don't we have Andrew speak a little more to that? He's our lead expert internally.
Galvanized by itself is not an issue, but if there was lead upstream of that galvanized at any time, the particles can sort of get captured within those galvanized lines. So that's when it's an issue.
Because I know galvanizing does not involve lead.
Right. So, and the real problem with that is we don't necessarily have records of if there was lead upstream of that or not. So we sort of have to assume that at some point in that line's history, there was some type of lead upstream of it.
Got it. That explains it. Thank you.
So just to clarify, so when you say upstream, you mean there could be lead from the main to the shutoff valve, and then the shutoff valve to the house could be galvanized or something like that?
Yes, yeah.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah, so it wouldn't include any pipes for after the main, but from the main, from that connection to the utility side service line to the curb, then into the house.
Which would not be the homeowner's responsibility then?
Just from the house to that curb stop would be
Right.
technically the homeowner's responsibility, correct?
Got it.
So just to follow up, if the test came back positive, let's say, positive for lead, do we make a recommendation or what happens then?
that information will come back, we'll collect it all. Any replacement type of projects that we're going to go forward with in the future, depending on, we're gonna try to group them for, the most cost-effective approaches. So if it comes back with a lead hit, it does not necessarily mean that we're going to be replacing that line in the very near future. A lot of that's gonna depend on grant funding in the future, as well as where we have our replacement projects. Since it is and not knowing exactly where the line is.
West of Allentown.
Okay, so the customer could theoretically replace that line since it is their responsibility.
Do we make a recommendation on that, or do we just say, here's the result, do what you want?
Yes, sort of.
If I could jump in there, there's a couple messages that will go out to customers in that situation. Number one, as Andrew mentioned, we will be replacing all of these over the course of time, but we have 13 years from basically today to do that. So if they would like to have their line replaced sooner, they can do that on their own. The other thing that we will be sharing with them is information on how to mitigate the risk of lead in their water. So tips like aerating your faucets or what type of pitcher filter they could use, flushing your line on some regularity. Those kinds of things they can do to lower or reduce the risk of lead in their drinking water. So we share all that educational information as well.
I'm just anticipating this guy in particular, and if he has the test done, which he will have done, and it comes back, it's called positive. Oh, yes, there is lead that's adhered to the galvanized. Is that what it means?
Yeah, basically.
He's gonna say, gee, Ted, what should I do? And me being the expert.
The best, easiest thing for them to do would be to buy a Brita pitcher filter to use for drinking water, or flushing the water for first use. They're sampling the water that's been sitting in that galvanized line over a period of several hours. That's when it has the most contact with the lead. You flush that out before you start drinking the water, you're not going to have the same level of lead in your water. So there's simple things like that they can do. Go to our website and find the full fact sheet about how to mitigate.
So we do not make a recommendation, and we say, here's some things you can do. It's up to you.
Right. And we will say that when we get to your neighborhood to do these replacement projects, then we'll coordinate with them directly. But that could be
10 years from now.
It could be.
Yeah.
So kind of back to my question, if a homeowner would decide to replace their segment of line, there could still be lead on the other side of the valve to the main, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And in that case, that homeowner should notify us of when they are replacing their portion of the service line. And we have about, I think it's 45 days off the top of my head to replace our section is.
Oh, okay.
lead.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So if you wait for the program to come to the neighborhood, they'll get both sides done.
But if they do it themselves,
But if they do it
they should let us know.
Let us know so
So we can,
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
you'll tell them that. Thank you.
Amir, I have a question. PMAA just yesterday put out an email that the final lead and copper rule improvements were published in the Federal Register on October 30th. Any surprises in there, or we think that's exactly what we expected?
No real surprises. It's sort of as the draft from several months ago. So sort of what we were expecting, but as Lisa mentioned, we technically have 3 years for it to be effective, and then the replacement of all service lines would have to be done within 10 years after that 3 years of effective dates.
I have a follow-up question on this. I'm going to beat it to death. I wonder if this is going to affect it when houses are sold. Are there going to be testing requirements for all of this? And if you're selling your house, you're going to have to deal with this.
So the testing is not a requirement. It's an option for them. But the homeowner or the property sale, even tenant move in, move outs, all of that is wrapped into the new rule about public notification. So we'll need to notify someone who buys a house within X amount of time of what their service line is made of, if it's lead or galvanized.
So if you're selling your house, you might have to be aware of what you have.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
the onus on the notification is on LCA, so when a new customer moves in, we know that, obviously, we know that and change the billing information, and then we'll have to issue the new letter to the new customer about their service line material. Yeah.
Any other comment from the board member? Wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.